Day 6 of making arm sleeves. I had to readjust the clips because I wanted to make sure that the clips were facing the right way, so that way I knew which side was up and which side is down. Because if you look on a shirt, the seam, this right here, is what's typically found on the bottom side of the shirt. So the collar end is to indicate that that collar end is the top side, which is also where, from the previous day, that pattern is going to be. But again, that's going to be on the flip side of the arm sleeve. Now, the right arm sleeve is going to have this pattern, while the left arm sleeve is going to have that pattern. So it's basically just mirrored. Plus, this helps indicate which side is on where. That way I don't have to put them on backwards, because I'm not using a strap to hold them together. I'm using one of these. So this is like an elastic cuff. Now this should stretch just enough to wrap around the entire circumference of the arm portion, at least up here, right before it reaches my armpits. But what I'm going to do is have it positioned probably like around here. Because if I think about it, this is where my armpit's going to be. This is where it'd be most likely not to slip off. And I'd have a good grip right here. So we'll go with that placement. And that was about 2 inches down, if I remember correctly, according to my notes. Today, we're going to be using the leftover fabric that I used to make my hand paws. See, exact same color and everything, to make the arm sleeves. You can tell it's the exact same color because it has the same cuts from when I made these hand paws last year. So I'll be using this end first versus starting down on that end. That way I have an even cut. Also, I'm not sure if you can tell, but I'm wearing a face mask. I'm not sick, don't worry. It's only because of the fact that when cutting fur, you have to be careful, because even the slightest breath can cause the fur fibers to become stuck inside your body and could potentially cause very bad health side effects. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to go into details, but it's important that you should know not to breathe this stuff in while cutting. Hence why it's always good to have a lint roller on standby when you're cutting. But before we start cutting, we have to map out exactly where everything's going to be. So using my handy dandy notes, we're going to make the exact same cut that I used for my arm sleeves. We're going to trace out the exact same dimensions that I did for the neoprene onto the fur. After that, we'll trace out onto the white fur this little pattern, which is on the arms. So this is going to be a very small, minor cut compared to the blue fabric. But as you can see here, we're looking at a surface area of about approximately 2 square inches. So let's go ahead and trace this all out. And here's our first arm sleeve that's drawn out. I had to draw a center line down the middle, just so that way I had a point of reference to at least mirror out exactly the dimensions I needed, because I had to pretty much match all these dimensions here. And now we're going to continue onward with the other one right over there. So I'll see you back in a jiffy as soon as I get that drawn out. And there we are. We have 1 and 2 sleeves fully traced out and ready to cut. So I'll cut those out in just a sec. Also, I made a goof up, so I had to retrace the pattern for the shoulder out in pencil. So at least it's able to be seen. And here we are. Sorry, I cut myself a little bit on the knuckle here on my middle finger. But anyway, there we go. Tomorrow, we'll be cutting out the white fur to fill in these little spots. So see ya in day 7.